Today I'm chatting with Matías Peiere, founder of GridX. And Matías is based in Argentina, and he is responsible for investing in several of Latin America's up-and-coming biotech companies. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Well, very well. Very delighted to be here in this interview and to be part of these interviews that are very awesome for us, and to be part of this is an honor.
Thank you. So in the past, I've seen you in IndieBio several times. You've come and visited us with your founders. You've brought many groups in. You are in a very essential bridge between Latin America and the United States when it comes to the biotech ecosystem. So can you tell us about GridX and its mission? How did you start this?
Okay, well, GridX it's a fund, no, but it's a fund that we are developing with a company builder model for the creation and investments in these science-based startups, mostly in biotech, and we developed this model not because we had a vision of the model, if not because we started looking how to invest in this kind of science-based projects. We started going through all the ecosystem, the scientific ecosystem, looking for science entrepreneurs aiming to impact through a startup. And we discovered a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of enthusiastic scientists, but we didn't find startups so well formulated to go through a venture capital path. So we stopped there. We was trying to find a way to invest in this kind of startups, and we discovered that there were no startups, and say, okay, what we can do? We go to another sector, and invest in another sector, or we can do something about this. So what do we need to do if we want to do something? So if we want to do something with this sector, we have to create these startups from scratch, no? And so we decided to do it that way, because we saw a huge opportunity because of the talent of those scientists. We saw a huge opportunity also in the momentum of the world, like 5 years ago, and of course today more and more, in terms of the needs that the world really have to change the way in how we produce, and the opportunity that in that sense we can discover in science. This science can bring us a lot of opportunities in changing the way of how we produce, but we need to transform that knowledge, transform that science into a well-formulated startup to put them in a path where they can really grow and they can really impact with that knowledge. So that's why we are working on that and in that way, because we needed to do it in that way, mostly in Latin America, that we have enough critical mass of biotech or science-based startups.
How did you find these scientists? And what exactly is the model or the path that you follow once you found a project or a group of scientists that you like?
Well, we are constantly mapping. I did it from the beginning. When I started this path, I came through from the software and electronic sector. My background is in business, but since my early 20s, I've been involved in startups related to electronics and software. So I became like some kind of translator of deep tech and how to relate it to business. So when I started thinking how to invest in this kind of startup, my first reaction was I have to talk to the people. I have to talk with scientists and understand what they're working on, and from that try to figure out how can I help in the ways of well formulate their proposal. So from the beginning, the way to do it was go to the source, go walk universities, walk labs, talk to scientists, participate in different events, participate as juries in contests and several different, and not only go and talk, if not do it also like a constant mapping of all that science that we saw as we walk those institutions and labs and so on. So we constantly go to the source, go to these places. We constantly map potential projects that can be turned into a startup, and we constantly see 3 dimensions of those projects. No, we need relevant science, something that we understand that is relevant, could be relevant. We need to translate that into a concrete opportunity. Maybe there is already an opportunity or could be an opportunity in the future. But the third that and most important thing is that we need to see somebody that is really committed to a life project of starting a path of creating a company, and thinking that in that way he could still can still do science, but it's going to be a different science, a science approach in a different way. But what we most need is to see that people that we call them as the owners of the project, the owners of the idea. You know, besides if the IP is from them or not, or if it's related to the university or not, we need to see the owner of the philosophical or spiritual owner of the project of the future. No? So we see those 3 dimensions constantly, and we are mapping constantly, mainly today in Argentina and Uruguay. We have like 1,500 projects already mapped in Argentina and Uruguay. Yes, and we are expanding slowly to Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Mexico as well.
And do you give them money then? Do you, like, what kind of resources do you give to support these scientists and their projects?
So from that map that we do constantly, every year we select 20 projects from those projects that we mapped, and those 20 projects participate in a 3-month program that we call Ignite. Our first stage is Explore, then we call Ignite, the second stage. And in that program that we call Ignite, we do another stuff that we did it because we need to do it, not because, again, of a vision of the future. That is, in that process, we start working with the scientists and also with entrepreneurs that are not related to science. And we work with guys, you know many of them, that before this process, maybe they didn't even know a word about the science that they were facing, but they were very enthusiastic about leading an impact company, no? And they were seeing that their friends and their colleagues were creating companies related to fintech or software as a services or marketplaces or applications for different stuff. But those kind of startups, they were not generating real impact. So those kind of entrepreneurs came to us and said, we want to make some impact in the world. We don't know nothing about science, but we know that you can help us to know several scientists and to start looking if we can work with them. So in that 3-month program, Ignite, we do like somebody once called us, like it's like a Tinder between scientists and entrepreneurs.
That's great. So what are some of the key traits that you look for in an entrepreneur who doesn't have any scientific background that you want to pair with a scientist or a team of scientists?
Great question, because it's a constantly learning of what you are doing and what you are looking from them. Huh? We do a process to select them. Last year we have like 50 candidates, and we finally work with 15 in the program. And what we look is, of course, they have to have like an appetite for impact, of course. They have to be like some kind of nerds, of wannabe nerd in terms of deep technologies and want to learn about, and even if they don't know nothing, but they have to have that sparkle of interest about that kind of stuff, that deep stack of abstract stuff. But I think the most difficult step to see is if they are going to be a person that we synthesize as they have to understand the complexity of the relation that they're going to build. They have to be aware that they have to be compassive in that process, not compassive in terms of spiritual compassion, if not compassion in terms of a skill to approach this kind of partners that they're going to have. And finally, they have to be pragmatic, because at the end of the day, we are doing business. We have to move forward. We have to bring to the table concrete stuff. So we want to see them in those three layers of behavioral, in terms of how they manage complexity, compassion, and pragmatism.
So do you set up a series within the program, a series of questions or exercises that pulls out that spirit of pragmatism or compassion or understanding of complexity? Because before you answer, I have to say the people that we've seen at IndieBio that have come out of GridX are truly extraordinary and have displayed those three very well, very strongly.
Yes, we just we constantly are like day by day having like a better eye on looking on these skills, but we do some stuff about complexity, and we work a lot in the future to gather scientists with entrepreneurs, and we do like a workshop and science fiction workshop. No?
Oh, wow.
So the scientists have to work on their projects, like doing a short script of 1 minute script or something, for a chapter of a Black Mirror chapter, for example. No?
I love it.
For example, if it can be a flow, they have to work together, the scientist and the entrepreneur, and say, okay, in 50 years from now, when the bees colonize all the or our robotic base, that something's going to happen. But they have to work in that small script of a sci-fi projects for the next 20, 30, 50 years, and they have to work together there, and you can't figure out a future if you don't understand all the layers of complexity that you have to see to go to that future. And that complexity is, you have to see your science, you have to see all the different technologies that you're going to be you have to interact today, because it's not enough with the scientists. You're gonna interact with software, with electronics, with materials, with a lot of
intelligence.
Totally. So that's a layer of complexity. Then you have to see how to talk with a business guy, and a business guy have to talk with a scientist to figure out the projects that can be attracted to somebody outside that conversation. And the conversation outside the world is today more complex and complex. So you have to figure out how you're gonna put that project if you think in 20, 30, or 50 years in the future. No? Another stuff, we also talk like theoretical chats about complexity. We like to go deep in that conversation. We are fans of one author that it's called César Hidalgo, that it's a physicist from, now it's in Lyon, I think in France, but he's a former researcher in MIT, that he works a lot with complexity. So we go deep in his approach to complexity and the relation of complexity to the economic world. We also work in compassion with practical exercise of mindfulness and compassion, but trying to approach compassion as a tool, not compassion as how you're gonna think yourself just because in a spiritual dimension, if not as a tool to face complexity. No?
Compassion is a tool to face complexity. I like that.
Yes.
And
And then of course practical issues more related to business issues and design thinking and all that kind of techniques that can put us in a more pragmatic dimension. No?
wow. So I really like that you have them do an exercise looking into the future and figuring out how you're going to navigate this future together, the scientist plus the entrepreneur, in some imagined, say, Black Mirror scenario, which is important because so many of these technologies can go in that Black Mirror direction if you're not careful. And so to understand the risks and mitigate them and foresee that future is great. So what would you say has helped you really bridge the gap between science and venture capital? Because there has been that gap, there continues to be that gap, but it's slowly getting a lot of more, it's being more highlighted as it is supported and funded.
Well, I think one of the keys elements is this process of putting together scientists with entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs at the end of the day are gonna figure out how to translate that science into something that could be attractive for the venture capitalist or for the industry in general. No.
Okay.
So that is for us a very, very big challenge.
And do you focus on any aspect of helping the scientist become an entrepreneur?
Yes, but we have a biggest bet. They have to transform themselves into entrepreneurs. They have to. We work mostly in terms of they have to think in a life project related to create a company. Okay. And when you think in a science-based company, you have to think in 10 years of your life at least to see something, and to see something. Maybe it's a failure, it's not a success. Maybe you're gonna pass 10 years, you're gonna look back and say, okay, this finally didn't work, so we have to do something. But the learnings sure are gonna be huge. So the job that we do mostly with the scientists is to align this kind of expectations, no, and what they have to move on to become an entrepreneur. They're gonna be an entrepreneur. But as we work with the business side, we put more weight on who is gonna deal with the day-by-day company, no? Who's
Okay.
gonna in the entrepreneur. So we are not trying so much to push the scientists into become so quickly an entrepreneur. They have to, but slowly in the process. But we can do this because we have a solid entrepreneur that are going to be the face of the company for everyone.
So on this journey is of starting GridX, what have been some of your biggest challenges, and what have you been most pleasantly surprised by?
Well, the challenges are everyday challenges, and being an entrepreneur, I consider myself an entrepreneur. So being an entrepreneur in South America, in Latin America in general, is very difficult. The volatility is very high. You never have enough resources to do anything, and that is in general for any entrepreneur in the in the world, but mostly in the region. Everything is very difficult here for everyone. And in terms of challenges, I think the first challenge was to start building the trust from the science side. And it's not enough that work. We constantly are trying to figure out how to go deeper in that work of building the trust. But at my first days, I remember once I came into a lab, and one of the researchers said, "Hey, here is Matías, is the guy for the money guy," no? He said, and he's looking for you. The money guy is looking for you. And I said, no, I'm not the money guy. I am the impact guy. We need money to do impact, but we need science to do the impact. So we want to change the word profit for impact. And when they understand that we're talking about impact and not profit, then we can start talking about profit, because profit is necessary in a capitalist system and that we are all living on. So first is impact. Profit is a variable of a system that we're working on. So that's a huge challenge, mostly in Latin America, because the cultural first approach in the scientific system in Latin America is like it's like they have the distance from the productive sector, and they think there is it's more a threat rather than an opportunity, and we have to constantly work in that way of changing that mindset. We are not a threat, we are an opportunity for you and for the science in general.
So what is the best way to help and support GridX and its founders? Because clearly you guys are moving very quickly, expanding. You've now got 1,500 projects that you're funding. Your fund itself is a few million plus. You have some big backers. How can we help you expand that vision?
Well, we know that this is a global conversation, no? And what we want to be it's a supplier of this kind of startups from Latin America to the world. So, and in that process, we are sure that we need a lot an international conversation. We are facing a new fund right now to go to expand our model to the region, knowing that we have a huge potential in terms of the science. And that was one of the stuff that really surprised me. I was betting on that, but I was not sure. That was the level of the competitive level that all the scientists have when they go abroad and they have to compete with other scientists all around the world. We have very competitive scientists down here. So as we know that we can be a supplier for startups through the world, and that needs an international conversation. So we have to go deeper in relationships with institutions like you, like IndieBio, like SOS Ventures in general, because we are seeing that the world need this kind of startups, and SOS really was a great pioneer of creating like great amount of this kind of startup, deep tech startups that are solving like very difficult and deep stuff for changing the way on how we produce in the world. So we want to go through that vision to go deep and do what we need to do in the region. Our vision is that if we don't do what we are doing, we are not going to have any startup. And we are thinking that we're reaching like 30 startups by the end of the year, and we think that we can build like 150 more startups in the next 7-8 years, based on 200,000 researchers related to life science that the region already have. So what we need is as much help that can be given to in this process of going international with our startups, not only in terms of capital, if not in terms of networking, relation with big companies, and also relation with the science all around the world. So I think what we more need today is to have that help to internalize our portfolio in the world after our process.
So on that note, can you tell us about a few of your notable companies? I know we've seen and been very impressed with STAM, BFlow, Microma, Microgenesis. Yes, tell us all about them.
Great. Well, the pioneer was BFlow, was the first startup. Casper, yes, as well. But the pioneer was BFlow with Matías Peiere. Was the first startup from our portfolio that was selected by IndieBio, and the one that went abroad as soon as he can. No, following the vision that we have from the beginning, that you have to go abroad fast because you're going to need more capital, you're going to need biggest markets, so you have to go abroad. So BFlow it's a company that are doing something I think is awesome, because it's the originality of how they're approaching pollination and that service for farmers that they don't work with that approach, using pollination as a technology. Their pollination always was something from nature, or something that somebody brings some beehives and something happened. And BFlow is doing this very, very challenging approach, that we have to approach pollination as a technology, and that could be a huge opportunity, because so many crops depends on pollination to improve the yields. Also, I think they are doing a great job having operations in the US, in California mainly, and Argentina. That's another huge opportunity, having research in Latin America. In terms of cost, we are very cheap, and if we could be competitive, $1 that you spend here in Latin America is going to be like much more efficient rather than any other part in the world. Another startup you mentioned, STAM. They're also like with a very huge bet in the technology. They're doing something really amazing. I think it's a game-changing company. I think they're approaching a technology, the fermentations technologies that didn't have any change in so many years, and doing a process that for me is amazing. That it's not only that they're with their technology, they're improving yields in the productions. No, they have like targets for 70x of better production. If not, they are doing a process that is for me is mind blowing. For me, that is they are digitizing a fermentation process. And if you digitize a fermentation process, you can standardize that and you can replicate it all around the world with much more less effort to do that. That is a very, very huge problem. And we're seeing right now when we are facing the vaccines for COVID, no, there's not enough facilities in the world. And also it's not only about facilities, it's about logistics. And if you think that you can digitize processes around the world and you can go very small in the production processes, you can decentralize production, and that could be very, very huge. And I know the founders, mostly Shusha, have a very, very ambitious vision about what they are doing, and they are doing a great stuff with that.
Yeah, the decentralization of production of so many things is a very exciting prospect for the future. So thesis or idea that we talk about a lot about at IndieBio. And so there's Microma
Yes.
and
Well,
Genesis and Casper.
Casper is working in that vision as well, because if you can do molecular diagnostics, they work in molecular diagnostics using CRISPR as the reactive. No, you can decentralize, and the huge problem on diagnostics, mostly in molecular diagnostic, is the centralization of that. So if you can have technologies to decentralize that processes, that is and digitize again that processes, that is very big. I think there's going to be many players doing that with several technologies, but I think that CRISPR is going to be like a huge technology to think about decentralization of diagnostics now for molecular diagnostic mainly. So that's another example in the same vision of decentralization. No?
Cool. So as we come to the end of the interview here, I just want to recap that essentially what you're doing at GridX is you are bridging that gap between science and venture capital. You are matching scientists with entrepreneurs to build great companies. You are essentially bringing the best technological advances out of Latin America. And you are also building great leaders, young leaders, great young leaders. The founders that we've worked with, STEM, Casper, BeFlow, Microma, Microgenesis, are incredible. So the job that you're doing is really fantastic. And we look forward to seeing much more coming from GridX. As far as your personal mission here, what is it that brings you the greatest joy in doing the work that you are?
I think it's something related to that. No, I think if we can, if we with our job we can empower people to maximize their possibilities of impact. That's the work that are more satisfying for me. When I see people coming and growing and really empowered by what they are doing, that is a huge mission to discover people and skills and emotions in them, and to put the focus on those emotions to empower to a different level. That's a very very emotional for me as well, no? And and it's easy with them because at the end of the day they are going to do the real change, no? We are facilitators of that process only, no? and And I was in a debate like a month ago in the middle of the quarantine with somebody talking about impact investing. You know? The approach of impact investing is all the time is we have to change the mind of the businessman so they can think in terms of impact. And in that like maybe ontologic change of mindset, we're gonna have a better world, a better companies. We say, sorry, but we work with guys like have like 25 years, from 25, 30 years that are business entrepreneurs, guys and girls that are that age, and we work with scientists. We don't need to change their minds. They're like they're they came with that mindset of impact. We need to help them on how to transform that enthusiasm in real business to real impact the world with the system that we already know how it works. So that for us to work with people that are so impact driven from naturally, not because they know that is a good approach, that are young people and scientists is something very very big for me daily.
Well, that's a really beautiful mission and path that you've forged for yourself and many others. So we thank you, Matías, and look forward to seeing more coming out from GridX. And for our audience out there today, please check out GridX. What's the website address?
It's gridexponential.com.
gridexponential.com. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see
Maya, thanks a lot. See you soon, hopefully.